Today I want to, today's Staffy is about. You must enunciate all things. It's about, we're going to call it People Church Essentials.
Ooh, yes.
So just a quick one about, who we are, why we do what we do and how we do it, and some just kind of leadership things that I think have to continue to stay in our culture and who we are as People Church. So number one is this: we set the parameters for what grows here.
Come on.
We set the parameters for what grows here. I think that it's so easy for us as leaders to kind of really sit in a place where you feel dictated by the times, or you feel dictated by what you have, what you don't have. And I want to say this: like, obviously there are moments in life where you can't help what comes your way. However, the theme of what you're left with is the product of your leadership, not the product of circumstance. And so I want to encourage you, like, set the parameters for what grows here. Like Frankie and Cynthia in their respective teams, like they are the reason that it's moving or not moving, because you set the parameters for what grows here. So making sure that we actually take responsibility and extreme ownership for what we're producing and is being produced, versus kind of blaming the fact that it's a city, it's the winter, it's difficult. Look, things happen. Like, it is what it is. And that's going to be the case. And I think as a leader, you should know that there's going to be those times that you lose. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you also have to be someone that chooses to set parameters, and those parameters set what grows. Yeah. And so I think a People Church thing is we always take responsibility for just what's happening, right? Like, fine, it might be, even though everybody says it's easier somewhere else, you know? And everyone says they're in the hardest city in the world.
Right.
But even if that's what you think, and you've got the hardest team in the hardest season, in the hardest year of history, cool. What are you going to do about it? Because at the end of the day, the task and the goal doesn't change.
Yeah.
So you've got to figure out how you're going to adapt to it. Yeah. And so if you've got like a lack of team members, you've got to look at, okay, well, what are you doing? Like, because you set the parameters for what grows.
Yeah.
So is it, transient? Well, why? And if we can lead that way, then all of a sudden what we start to do is actually buck the trend. Yeah. And we start to grow outside of what was always there, because we set the parameters. Yes. It might take longer, and that's okay too, because maybe we are in a city, or you are in a team that needs to turn around. Like, that does happen in leadership. You do sometimes inherit a bad kind of situation. But what you make it is completely dependent on you. Yeah. So I think a People Church essential is that we set the parameters for what grows here. The second thing is this: it's not what you preach, but what you permit.
Yes.
And I want to speak to that one in practicality, because I think that I've noticed over the years in with leaders is that they've got this kind of they almost get offended, and they often say this, like, man, that's not what we have modeled. That's not what we do. That's not the way we have said it. You know what I mean? And it's almost like, you should know better. Right. But I feel like that's not always the fact of somebody's heart, as much as sometimes people don't see what you see. Yeah. Right? Like, they just don't see it the way you see it, or they don't realize they've got a bad habit, or they don't realize that they've got a bad countenance. Yeah. Or they don't realize they're leaving early. Like, it's just there's a myriad of things. And I think we've got to lead by clarity, not expectation. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I mean clarity being that you've taken your expectation and you've made them clear, you have communicated them, and you have upheld them. Because it's what you permit that's going to flourish, not what you preach. Preaching is suggestive. You know what I mean? It's like, as far as the person hearing it, it's like, it's awesome. It's good. I'm glad Stefan said that we're happy when we serve in Toronto. Cool. But that doesn't mean they're going to do it. Yeah. And if I think as a leader, if you think an email, a message in Renee, by the way, even a meeting, right? Like, let's say I'm trying to talk to Jimmy, okay? Because Jimmy's the one guy who keeps, I don't know, like, taking all the communal snacks. I don't know. Just putting that out there. I don't know why I said that.
Keep that issue private.
I don't know why I said it.
That's a private issue.
I don't know why I said it. I felt led by the Holy Spirit. But let's say that Jimmy is taking the communal snacks, right? I guarantee you that the way that leadership goes, in my experience, is I could do a whole message about being generous, not taking the communal snacks, and I guarantee you that the one person that it'll go over their head is Jimmy. And probably you've got Sarah, who has never touched the communal snacks, now go and buy snacks and contribute because she feels so terrible. And I've just found that usually, you know, what we do is like, we think we're being clear and we think that we've said it because everybody needs to hear it. And I just think a golden leadership rule is don't communicate to everybody what someone needs to hear.
Yeah, so good. So good.
Like if you keep communicating to everybody what someone needs to hear, I guarantee you that the someone that needs to hear it is either away that week, it goes way over their head, or in their mind they're like, yes, Sarah. Like it just doesn't go that way. So make sure that when you lead, it's, you know, it's what you permit. And it's just simply going up and catching it, talking about it. The third one is this. If you're going to do that, then you've got to commit to leading with why. I reckon it's just super easy to tell people what to do. And sometimes in your environments, obviously on a Sunday, things are fast moving. But I guarantee you this, that if all you do is tell people what, they will eventually change the what. Because people need meaning. There has to be a meaning on why you made me do it this way. Because otherwise what you allow is the what to be interpreted by their way of what they think is important, basically. So not their way, but basically what they think is important. So if, you know, you send someone on a task and you say, man, I need you guys to make sure there's coffee. Well, that's cool, but they don't know the why. They don't know that the why is behind actually connecting with people on the service. So then what they do is they think logistically it would be so much easier to just give people coffee on the way into the auditorium. So they've missed that the why is about creating moments in the foyer to connect with each other. They just thought this is more efficient. They thought the why was efficiency. Our why was connection. And the why matters. The why is the reasoning why things exist in our environment and why they don't. So if you're a leader and you're running a team and you have just told people a lot of what, just know that when you walk away from that team and come back in 6 months, it won't look like the team that you were wanting it to look like. Because all you did was, I think, kind of the laziest part of leadership, which is tell people why. Tell people what. But why is where you get buy-in. Why is where you start to see heart and character tested. Why is something that'll live well beyond your, you know, direct set of influence. So as a leader, take the time to teach people why. Don't command like allegiance. Actually command understanding.
So good.
If you're going to command allegiance, you'll be the emperor that has no clothes. People will do what they say, what you say. They'll do it when you're in the room, but they won't do anything beyond that. You've got to commit to teaching why, and why takes time. Can I just put something out there as well with why? Is be ready to have to wrestle with somebody to help them understand the why. Because every bit of why we have is 100% generated out of like culture. It's directed out of and originated out of value systems. Like everything we do has a lot of depth behind it. And so when you don't teach the why, or when you try teach the why, it's not always going to click with someone. So you've got to actually take them through. And I've just been in a lot of leadership environments where it's seen as like insolence and just like you won't get behind it. And the truth is you've got to help people understand things. Now there comes obviously a borderline where people are just not going to get it, and that is what it is. And they've got to do it anyway because it's the way we do it. And if they don't like it, there's plenty of other teams or places. But you've got to take the responsibility for teaching people why. There's a difference with telling people no sex before marriage, and there's a difference between teaching what the Bible says about no sex before marriage. There's a difference between teaching people why why leaders go first, or expecting people and just saying leaders go first, or teaching them why leaders go first. Make sure you're leading with why, not what. I think it's an absolute people church essential. I think the next one is count the cost.
That's good.
I think we've got to keep counting the cost and like understanding that is a people church culture thing. And what I mean by that is this, that we feel that serving people and building a Sunday service is always worth any effort. Like the craziness of the logistics, the early mornings, the late nights, the endless things, count the cost. And I think the greatest thing with counting the cost is keep in perspective what you're investing and what you're believing to be a return. For Ords and I, part of counting the cost has never been the immediate what we see coming back. In fact, counting the cost has not even been the logical what we see coming back. Audrey and I have always sown and counted the cost according to a faith return, not a logical return. So like we've always gone, man, it does not make any sense for us to start a church in a city that we hardly know anyone and we don't have finances and we don't have this. But yes, it is going to cost us everything. Yes, it's going to cost us moving away from our family. Yes, it's going to cost us heaps of things and stress. But I'm not going to measure the return based on what's in front of me right now, which is maybe in the first 3 years, a whole bunch of people that didn't get it, or a bunch of people that came to us because we were the next new church in Chicago and they wanted a platform, like all the rest of it. No, we counted the cost according to a like faith-filled return. We believe that one day we will see people return to us that are like, they're ready to build this irrespective, that we will see people that are not chasing titles, that we will see people who reach and love the lost, that we would see people that are willing to serve anywhere, not where there is titles, that are in line with their gifting and their calling. And honestly, when you start to sow according to that, what you have basically handed over is you said, God, I trust you with the outcome. Yes. And when you can say, God, I trust you with the outcome, the cost is always payable. But if you feel like the outcome, just be careful who you trust the outcome to. Do you trust it to your leader? Do you trust it to the oversight? Do you trust it to just the normal, practicalities of life? Or do you trust God with the outcome? I think if you could be a leader that trusts God with the outcome, you're just by byproduct going to be a leader that leads with vision. Leading with vision isn't your ability to cast crazy stuff like, I believe everybody's going to have, like, we're going to be Disney World, everybody gets a water slide, everybody, and we're going to have a cafeteria. Like, that's not vision exactly. I think leading with vision is something you exude, and it comes down to the fact that you're believing for things that other people genuinely wouldn't be able to see themselves. Make sure you're leading with vision. Make sure that you actually are counting the cost and that you're counting the cost according to a faith return, not a practical return, because it is like absolutely important. Here's one that is so healthy for every aspect of your life, and it's a People Church essential: to the face, not the back.
Yes. So good.
To the face, not the back. What was it? I think I was reading in Matthew today around chapter 5, and it just spoke about the fact that we as believers should be looking to reconcile. Like reconciliation is our portion, that we would actually learn how to reconcile to each other, that even beyond that, we would not try and have outside arbitration as believers, because what a discredit it is to us who will eventually judge the world. Like that's what it says in the verse. So for me, I just think one of the greatest things you could do, healthiest things for you, for your soul, for your integrity, for your character, for the relationships around you, is to the face, not the back.
Come on. Yeah. So good.
Speak to the people you need to speak to, not about the people you need to speak to.
Yeah, that's so good.
And it's not always like big and bad, you know what I mean? It's not crazy. It's not like, I just think that quite often I've had people come up to me and ask for leadership advice. And when I ask them like, hey, what's going on? Let's say it's Drew about Renée. He's like, man, I'm just really frustrated with Renée because I feel like she keeps showing up late and she never follows through with what I've asked her for. And it's getting really frustrating. And on top of that, she keeps rostering college students on things that I've already rostered them on as youth. And it's like, oh, awesome. Have you told her that? No. Well, if you just did, it's very clear and very reasonable. There's no good you coming to ask for advice when the reality is it's not advice you need, it's willingness to confront. And what we always say at People Church is what you don't confront will eventually confront you. It's the thing you're not speaking to because you're too afraid to lose it, too afraid to do what you're meant to do, that actually comes back and bites you in the butt. Like you've got to be able to speak to people in the face. And honestly, if you do it frequently, it doesn't have to be something that is intense.
Yes, so true.
Be someone that speaks to the people that you have to speak to, not about the people that you want to speak to. If you can do that, I'll tell you what, you end up with a lot of credibility. Like, I genuinely think that we should have a feedback environment that is pretty instant when, like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I always wanted to be the kind of pastor that if I tell you well done off the back of your message, if you preach, you can guarantee that I mean it, and you don't have to wait for a later meeting that week for me to be like, well, Renée, let me tell you. I said it was good, but really what I meant was good job, pat on the back, we'll deal with all how bad that was on Wednesday. I think it creates insecurity. I think you devalue your word and you devalue your feedback. And that goes everywhere, guys. Like, make sure that your word, your yes is yes and your no is no. Like, also found in Matthew. Like, make sure that when you tell someone what you have to tell them, it's exactly what you mean. Because what you'll do is you'll create mistrust. Even in a marriage, right? Like, Aunt and I would often joke about the fact that, like, I'd be like, hey, what's up? And she'd be like, nothing's wrong. Did you do something? No. Well, then nothing's wrong. But if you did do something, maybe something is wrong. Is something wrong? I don't know. Did you do something? I don't know. You know, like, and we would joke about it and it was like a thing. And it's such a small ism. But a small ism left unaddressed does create speculation. Does create, well, are you mad? And then it goes into like, she's actually not mad, but I'm like, are you mad? And it's just little things, the first few years of marriage. But like, if you don't address that, and I just see that in so many people's leadership, where people don't know where they stand with you. People don't know where they stand. And by the way, that goes for people that are being led. Like, if you're being led by someone and they've asked you, are you good? And you're like, I'm good. But meanwhile, when they walk away, you're like throwing knives. Like, that's never going to be healthy, okay? To the face, not the back. I think another people church essential has always been, I kind of said it in this one, so I won't major on it, but what you don't confront will eventually confront you.
Yeah, it's good.
If you're not going to talk about it, it's going to get to the point where you're going to have to talk about it. It's just how it goes, you know? Because again, if you leave it unaddressed, it's going to get bigger. So what aspects of culture are you not addressing? What things are you not speaking to? I've personally mostly learned this in leadership. It doesn't just go away.
Yeah, that's so true.
You know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but the things I wish would just happen don't happen. The things I wish would stop tend to flourish. You know, like, how good would it be if the things I wish never happened and didn't speak to just didn't? And the things that if the opposite happened, never happens that way. You've got to confront it. Confront it because, and the idea with that is it's better to address a small fox than actually something that has become a whole battle. Get to it sooner, it's better than anything. I think is just, you've got to learn how to confront it while it's small, because eventually it will confront you. It is crucial if you're going to lead well. I just forgot my next point. I actually had another one, a People Church Essential, and I forgot it. What was it? It was off the back of the last one, what you don't confront will eventually confront you. Yes, no. Well, it's gone. It can't be that good. It can't be that important. It has been gone. Another People Church Essential, can I just say, is make sure that you are leadable. And what I mean by that is, like, I think what we often aspire to is to be a good leader. But what dawned on me, I think years ago, is the fact that leadership is the byproduct of good fellowship. Like, if you're following, every leader is always a follower. And at the end of the day, I don't actually have to focus on my leadership if I just focus on my fellowship. If I focus on the way that I'm following Jesus, leadership is a byproduct. Paul says that imitate me as I imitate Christ. Right? So Paul's number one concern is actually being a good follower of Jesus. And if you're a good follower of Jesus, then the reality is that people have something to follow. And what I've learned as well is this, that it's usually what you struggle to follow, that you'll also struggle to lead. If you struggle to follow with honor, you will struggle to lead expecting or asking or creating an environment that will have it.
Wow.
If you struggle to follow with serving, you will struggle to lead with serving. It's ironic and weird how you would struggle to serve someone because you would think it's beneath you. But then you'll 100% struggle to serve the people that you're meant to serve,
Yeah.
and you will inevitably expect of them what you wouldn't give someone else.
Yeah.
You will expect them to serve you because you haven't learnt that you have to serve. And it's everywhere. In fact, you can usually pinpoint what you didn't fully agree with your leader because it'll typically be absent in what you lead.
So true.
Like if you didn't fully agree with getting, corrected on punctuality, I guarantee you your team's not punctual. But it'll also, you kind of learn it in two ways. You either learn it because you get a chance to learn it in your heart, or you will learn it because you're confronted with it.
Yeah.
And now you're like, man, I don't know what to do. My team's always late. Well, you don't value it
That's good.
because you struggled with it. I think at every turn that happens, I think, it pinpoints where you were. So aim to be a better follower than reading a whole bunch of books about being a great leader. It's just model what you want to see modeled. Be responsive. Be correctable. Don't aim to always be right. Be the first to say sorry. Elevate the best idea in the room.
Yeah.
Look for talent. Don't be the biggest set of talent. Release people. Absolutely necessary to be a releasing leader. In fact, we can make that another essential because I can't stand when somebody stands in the way of somebody else's calling.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being on it and being a control freak.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being lazy and handing too much on to actually being releasing. Learn the difference. Learn how to release people into their calling, which means this: you've got to be okay with collateral.
Yeah.
Church, are you okay with collateral? Or are you too perfection oriented that you don't want it to reflect poorly on you, so you have no collateral? Listen, if you just manage expectations, go to your oversight and say, hey, over the next few weeks, I'm training people up. I'm on it. There might be some bumps on the road, but I just want to let you know ahead of time. Hey, now people know that it was intentional. They know that you're on it and that you're coaching, right? Now, you can't have collateral forever, but you've got to give a season. If anyone's ever going to be good at something, it's because you gave them room to be bad at it. If someone's going to be a good worship leader, Audrey has to give them room to be a bad worship leader. If there is no room for somebody to have a bad message, they'll never be a good preacher.
Yeah.
I guarantee that Gio's first message wasn't his best. But I guarantee that it was only going to get better because he had the room to do it. If you put the weight of perfection on everything we do, then you'll have people just constantly fumble and crumble. And you'll have people that will never step to the plate with authenticity. They'll actually step to the plate with more performance than anything, because you've expected such a high bar. Let's allow people to get it wrong so that we get people that eventually know how to get it right.
So good. Come on.
Last one is this. Every leader understands that they are a facilitator.
Yeah, that's good.
From a grow group setting, right, we could talk about it from the simple aspect of, you facilitate an environment. You learn how to host. You learn how to set the table. You know how to, make sure your house is clean. It's a vibe when people walk in. You've got some order to the place. You got to facilitate, right? But I think facilitating goes well beyond the atmosphere in a room.
Yeah.
Do you know how to facilitate an environment where people could be honest?
Yeah.
How do leaders do that? I'll tell you how. Because you're honest yourself first.
Yes.
Don't expect, as a leader, that everybody's supposed to share everything about their life, but you say nothing about yours.
Yeah.
My biggest frustration in compliment, or it's not even a compliment. They're not even complimenting it. They're just, people say it kind of condescendingly. And people come up to me after a message quite often and be like, they do that face. If you do that face, I just want to, good on you. Good on me. Good on you for being transparent. Almost oh, aren't you great? No, that's a standard.
Yeah.
It's not oh, you're so, it's almost the feeling I get and the way that people say it quite often is almost wow, aren't you silly for being weak? Wow. And it's not a like, because you can tell that they don't fully mean it, because you know what someone values by how they praise it.
Yes.
It's almost like they're coming up to you and going, I can't believe you did that. Man, that was brave.
Yeah.
Instead of like, actually, no, you must lead with vulnerability.
Yes.
If you don't lead it, you can't expect it.
Yes.
So if you're going to facilitate an environment where people can be honest, you have to be honest.
Yeah.
Here's the second thing. If you're going to facilitate an environment where people can be honest, you need to be able to receive honesty.
Yeah.
So true.
If they can't tell you or disagree with you, then they're never going to be. A lot of leaders want an environment, and we kind of touched on this at the beginning, where everybody just does as they ask. You'll never know where people are really at.
Yeah.
If you can't let people be honest and disagree with you, because you at least, and I reckon most leaders don't want people to actually question them because they don't actually have reasons for what they do. If you can't defend what you do, you'll always be defensive about anybody asking about it. You know what I mean? But if Shannon knows that the reason she runs her budget or the budget of this church or whatever practice, like the way that it's, it's got thought behind it, people can question it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day as well, she wants best, not to be the best.
Yeah.
So what's best for us as a church is what matters to Shannon, or it should. So she's open for somebody to challenge something. Because if you've got those two avenues running for you, you've thought it through, and you just care what's best for the environment, you're going to be open to honesty. If you're going to, as a leader, you've got to be able to facilitate an environment for honesty. You've got to be able to facilitate an environment for growth.
Yes.
Which means one of the smallest but yet most powerful things is we stop accepting subpar performance.
Right.
Meaning we don't praise effort like as alone, we've got to praise accurate.
Yes.
Like, if all we do, I remember once Jake was super shocked because like we were planning for something in the first few years, and someone said, I think someone can do an artwork for it. And I was like, okay, cool, but is it going to be good? Because if it's not going to be good, we're not going to use it. And Jake was laughed, and I go, no, I'm serious, we won't use it. And it was almost like as if I'm mean, but I'm like, it's not. It's not mean. I think at the end of the day, I think you got to give people room to get to it. But by calling something out, you're also saying, I believe you can get there.
Yeah.
By just accepting it, you're basically saying, I don't know that you could get any further than this, so I'll just accept it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes by not addressing not addressing something is, I think, worse, because it's kind of like, I don't believe you could get any better, so I'm just gonna leave that one right there. Because we all know that Maddie will never be able to get any better. Bless her heart. Like, just let it go. No, I think we've got to create an environment where we keep getting people to step up.
Yeah.
So if you're going to facilitate an environment for growth, that's got to be part of it. If you're going to facilitate an environment for growth, you've got to set a marker that we are constantly moving, not arriving.
Yes.
Yes. So good.
Facilitate an environment for growth. Facilitate environment for growth because, again, you empower people. Releasing without empowering is dumping.
That's good.
There's a difference between me going, Kylie, I'm going to release you to basically run the ministries of our church. Meanwhile, I just don't want to because the ministries meeting is also the optimum time to play golf. So I just want to be out there golfing. So there you go, Kylie. You're welcome. Go ahead. Knock yourself out. Versus me going, hey, I'm going to teach you. Let me teach you a bit. Let me empower you. Let me release you to it. Make sure you're empowering people as well as releasing people, because otherwise you're really just dumping workload on people.
Very good.
Be an empowering leader. Teach and equip people. Give them the tools they need. Create an environment where you're constantly teaching. That is going to facilitate growth. And I think another one is create an environment. This is really important, actually. This is for like so many people in this room. Everyone. Create an environment where you facilitate connection.
Yeah. Yes. 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 Yes.
Do not be the leader where all roads lead to you.
Yes, so good.
Meaning everybody just has a connection with you. You do dinner with everybody. You do lunches with everybody. You do coffees with everybody. Get your people connecting with people.
Yes, very good.
Get your people connecting with each other. Be intentional with it.
Yes.
Again, it's not what we preach, what we permit. You must set the parameters. You construct the team you want.
Yep.
When was the last time you got your team connecting with each other? Team chemistry is massive for where your team will go. If your team doesn't connect together on a like hangout level, they will struggle on a work level because there's too much on a work level that they'll misinterpret because they don't know each other's heart. They don't know each other's like mind. They don't understand each other's intention. I believe everybody wants to win, but if you guys don't actually hang together, then there's going to be a problem. Be a leader that facilitates connection. Get people hanging with people. Get people like connecting. Even in grow group, you're going to have Mr. Deep Greek Hebrew reading awesome man who basically is like, I'm here for the study. Oh, cool. But like there's this Christian thing called fellowship. And also what, you're so deep that you can't connect with people? What's the point of knowing all these deep revelations if you can't give them to people? Everyone's about like, don't get the word out of context. Cool. Well, then don't live the word out of the context it was meant to live in. With people.
Let's go.
Facilitate connection. Get people around people. Hang out with people. And don't do it. Oh, wait, last one. We don't clock on and we don't clock off.
It's a good one. It's a really good one.
Work the grocery store the same way you work the foyer.
Preach.
If Frankie is out there being Captain Awesome, right? First impressions, but then avoids everybody in any environment that is not church related, it's not congruent.
It's very good.
Make sure that you walk through I want to treat the grocery store, I want to treat every family party I go to, I want to treat everything as if it is my foyer and you just walked in it. If I'm on a soccer team, I want to treat it like this is my foyer and you just walked in it. I just think that too many Christians have Sunday performance and it's so jarring because they see you walking around, I can't stand if you see someone grumpy. Now, not every moment you're the flipping town mayor, kissing babies and high-fiving people, you know what I mean? But like there has to be a theme where you're pretty congruent no matter where you are, you know?
That's good.
And I think it is the power of living on assignment. I think it is about I think it's about realizing that every single person is someone to bring the church to Jesus, to freedom, to breakthrough. There's something about that. And if all we do it is because when we've got a People Church brand or badge, I never want to be that, guys. People Church Essentials is that we run that foyer and that foyer never stops. It doesn't have doors that finish at Clemente. You know what I mean? It's everywhere we go. Aim to bring people to Jesus, and I'm going to leave you with that. How many people have you brought to Jesus this year?
So good. So good.
How many people have you sat in church with that you met sometime outside of church and brought them in? You know what I mean? Like not Google brought them, not an Instagram ad brought them, not one of our wheat pastings brought them, not a friend brought them. When did you bring them? Who was the last person you brought? Who was the last person you won for Jesus? Like, let's not get lazy on that. The Bible doesn't say we're all evangelists, but it does challenge us to all do the work of the evangelist.
It reminds me of a funny story. For whatever reason, at the grocery store, I always encounter people that are in need. And I was at Aldi a couple years ago during pandemic, actually. And there was a little old Mexican man who's so cute, he had his groceries in his hands, and he's, trying to get people's attention in the grocery shop, just asking for somebody to pay for his groceries. He'd just gotten out of the hospital. He was sick. Because he's got all his groceries, and he asks me, he's like, can you pay for my groceries in Spanish? I'm like, yes, come jump the line. So he puts all his stuff, and then I turn around, and he's gone. I'm like, where did he go? He went to the ice cream section and grabbed 2 tubs of ice cream, but he threw them on the little checkout thing. I'm like, yeah, bring her ice cream. But I tell you, those moments, that obviously was a big moment for him, but it was probably a bigger moment for me, because you're just waiting for those opportunities to pay for someone's groceries, or to, give up your seat on the train, or to pay for somebody's coffee,
Yeah.
you know, behind you or in front of you or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just, I just always aware.
Yeah.
Always aware.
Let me put this out there to you. Write this down off the back what Audrey said, and it is this, that like good testimonies favor the bold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I remember I paid for one dude's I don't know why I did it. I just felt like God told me to do it. So I paid for this one dude's groceries, and he chased me. It was the weirdest interaction, actually. He chased me out with a wad of cash, and then I was like, no, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good, no, it's good, it's good. I closed my door. Now he's opening my car door, and we're wrestling. We're literally wrestling with the car door. I'm like, let me bless you. And then we ended up in a punch up, you know? It was crazy. No, we didn't. Can you imagine? I'm like, listen, just take it. But like, it gets crazy. But honestly, to me, where I walked away from was like, he ended up being super thankful, and he asked me why, and I was just like, I just felt like God put it in my heart. I didn't lead him to Jesus right there. But that moment, like, it was scary to do it. Sometimes you don't know how people are going to react. Like, I've paid for people's groceries, and kindness,
It shocks people.
it shocks people.
What do you want?
And they
What do you
definitely,
want?
it's loving, and they don't know how to receive that sometimes. But if you're not willing to be bold and go out on that limb, you don't have the testimony. And honestly, good testimonies favor the bold. So like, how are you going to be bold this week?
Yeah.
Like another time, I remember, and this is just to paint a picture of this stuff, not to say that I do this enough. Like, this message is challenging me today 100%. But like, I remember I was somewhere out to breakfast with someone, and I just saw this girl crying, and I just felt like, I walked by because I didn't know what to do. I just was like, should I ask? Am I intruding? Like, I don't know. And it kind of, I felt like the Holy Spirit checked me on it and like kind of say, how can we as humanity get to a point where it's no longer human to ask someone if they're okay? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's no longer just okay to do that, you know? And I made a vow at that moment that if I ever saw someone crying around me, I would walk up to them and ask them if they're okay. So anyway, I was at breakfast once, and the lady next to me, she was crying, and so I just came up to her and I was like, hey, you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, look, I'll be praying for you. Is there anything I could be praying for you? And she said, no, I need God to come through for me. I was like, okay. And then I paid for her like breakfast, and that's it. But like, just the simplicity of being a flipping human. And I just think, man, you might not get everyone saved, but I'll promise you this. If you commit to talk to more people with simply a hello, a hi, how are you, how's your day, what's been going on, just mention anything, I promise you'll bring more people to church. You'll see more people say yes to Jesus, because honestly, just starting the conversation is the open door to get into someone's world. And honestly, this has been the year, the last 3 years, obviously COVID, but this year has actually been the first year that I can't say I brought someone to church. And that's challenging.
Oh, you brought
Who did I bring?
the guy downstairs. Jesus, you brought him to church.
Oh yeah, I did. Well, one.
It's good. It's good. And he brought his girlfriend. And
But yeah, like I always want to bring people, man. So let's be bringers.
Yeah.
Good testimonies favor the bold.